Hi there, good afternoon everybody. Welcome to the Cloud Design Box training series on setting up group assignments within Microsoft Teams. It's really lovely to have you along this afternoon with us. I hope you can all see my screen. Before we get stuck in, just a couple of slides to show just around about what we're going to be covering this afternoon, and then we'll get into assignments proper and we can see just exactly how we go about setting up these group assignments. This session will be recorded, so you can come back to it at a later date and review this within your own time. So about us, Cloud Design Box, we're a team of education teams experts and SharePoint experts as well. We support over 360 schools worldwide. We deploy Teams, SharePoint, and we add extra value to that by adding our own specialized front end onto SharePoint. Plus additional technology that we have, and we work within primary, secondary, college, multiple academy trusts, and we actually specialize in education technology. So I believe on the call we've got some of our existing customers with us, so it's lovely to have you along, and some of you have never really worked with us before, so welcome aboard. It's really nice to have you along this afternoon. We've been founded in 2015, and we've been steadily increasing in size each year. And becoming quite a broad company, so to speak. So today I'm Keith. I'm a trainer. I work for Cloud Design Box, and also on the call this afternoon we've got Tony, who's our consultant and director, basically my boss. So I better not mess this up today. So again, please, we're going to be answering the questions. So if you've got anything you want to do, throw that into our Q&A box, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Hi Keith, yeah, really looking forward to this topic. Hotly anticipated the group event, so yeah, looking forward to it.
Great, thanks Tony. And so our agenda this afternoon, so we're going to go in and we're going to have a look at the creation of a group assignment. So there's two ways we can go about that. We can actually manually create those groups, which is absolutely brilliant as a teacher. So we can actually break up peer groups, we can put our gifted and talented students together, or potentially we can put our more introvert students in with the more extrovert students, if you like. So we can really break up those peer groups within the classroom and really leverage the abilities of our students. We can also get Microsoft Teams to actually create the groups for us. So we can just hit a button and that will all be generated on our behalf. And we can also manipulate those groups as well to suit our needs. And again, we'll look at that during this session. Also, as part of this session, I've got a student view available to us as well. So we can actually have a look at see just exactly what our student will see. And also as part of that, we can grade that work. So the student can actually see how we've graded it. And we can actually grade a whole group. And also we can grade the group as individuals as well. And again, we'll cover that shortly. So regarding the questions, there should be a Q&A box available to you. Please feel free to throw questions in as we're going along. So we've got Tony here to help answer them. I'll answer anything that's pertinent at the time as we're going, so I'll try my best to keep an eye on it. And also we'll open the floor to questions as well at the end of the session. Right, so let's get stuck in. So at the moment, what I'm looking at is an assignment that I'm just in the process of creating. Just to save us a little bit of time, I've been in the assignments area, I've hit create assignment, and this is now my assignment creation page. I've put a title in, so it's of mice and men group assignment. I've also put my instructions in as well for my students, so we don't like to keep it a secret as to what we expect from our students. But also I'm now going to attach some resources as well. So I'm going to click attach, and what that will do, I'm going to open from Teams, and I want to bring in a worksheet and also some reading material as well. So this goes into English, and today I'm working in a year 11 group, and we're working in mice and men. So I've got a worksheet, and also I've got just a PowerPoint as well that I want my students to read through as well. So I'm just going to attach that. That's now been pulled through from SharePoint, and that's brought that into Teams for me. By default, it's set so that students can't edit. So I must remember to go over, hit the three dots, the more options menu here, and just set that so my students can edit their own copy. So that now means that when my students are working together as a group, they can go into the worksheet and they can put their thoughts and ideas in there ready for submission. The PowerPoint, it's just a piece of reading material for them, so I'm just going to leave that be. Also, I can attach any additional content in here, so I may want them to look at a small video film. Also, I can create some additional work here using my Office 365 suite as well, so I can put in here additional Word documents and spreadsheets, etc. To suit. Beneath that, I need to put some points in, so I'm going to grade this out of 10. However, if you're a school that uses rubrics, you can actually add rubrics with group assignments. That works absolutely perfectly well. But just for the ease, just to make it a little bit easier for me this afternoon, I'm just going to keep it to a points value. That's all. But yeah, rubrics will work absolutely perfect with this. So it's going to be by default assigned to my English Year 11 group. But here we are over on the right hand side here. So this is by default going to go to all of my students. Now, if I click on the head and shoulders icon here, what that will do gives me a drop down, and I can either send this to an individual student, or in this case, what we're going to be looking at this afternoon is we're going to be looking at groups of students. So if I click on that, we'll get a little pop-out box appear here. So this now is the actual way we can start to set up those groups, and we've got a choice of doing it in two ways. We can either manually group the students, so that's basically teacher-led if you like, so I can now set that up myself, or I can randomly group the students, and that's getting Microsoft Teams to sort that out for me. But first of all, we're just going to look at the top one. So manually grouping students. So if I click on that, I then click create groups. Now this will then ask me if I want to create a group, a first group. So I've got my group 1, and I'm going to create my first group, and I'm going to need, I've got 26 students in my group, so I'm going to put five students in each group, and they're going to have one group of 6. By default, it usually comes through in alphabetical order, so I can scroll through the group and find out my for my groups out, and just click create, and that's my first group here. I can click create a second group. I also have the option here of being able to change the names as well. So I've got group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But also what I can do in here is I can also call that group red, blue, green, orange if I wish. So it's entirely up to you how you wish to set that up. Also, as part of building that group, I can either just click down the list and add my members, or I can actually filter by name. So for example, if I just was to start typing in a student's name, I've got Susan here. I can add student to my group 2, and let's have a look. I might want to put Hayden in there as well, because I want to break that group up where Hayden may potentially want to sit with some of his other peers. So I can add Hayden to that group. And also then, now that I've got Susan and Hayden working together, I can then just put Fred and Gloria together and potentially drop Jake in there as well. So let's have a look and put Katrina in there, and I'm going to create that. So I've got 6 members in that group, so in they come. I've also then got my new group. Put Hope, Jesse, Kofi, Paolo in there. That's 5 in there. And as I'm working down through my groups, I do get a countdown here, look. So it's actually now telling me that I've got 10 out of 26 students remaining. So I need to create another group. I can put another 5 in there. And I've now got 5 out of 26 remaining. I can click new group. And I can just put the last 5 into my group. And that's them all together now. So I've got 0 out of 26 students remaining to be grouped. So here's my group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can also edit that group. So if I've made a bit of a mistake and thought, actually, group 2, I can go in here and Fred, I might take Fred out of that group. Just click update. that puts Fred now back into my pot, so to speak. So I've got 1 out of students remaining. So I'm going to put Fred now actually into group 5. I can add a student, put Fred in there, click choose, and that's now moved in from one group to another. Once I'm happy with that, I click update, and that all sends that back to the beginning again. So there's all my groups ready to go, and I can click done, and that will then I can click done, and that will then have all those students all grouped together. If I want to start again from scratch, so I'm actually thinking, you know, I'm not quite so happy with the way I've set all this up. I can just click recreate groups, and that will then disband all of the groups, and that will take me right back to the beginning again. So that was how we looked at how we can actually manually create those groups. Also, what we can do is we can also get Microsoft Teams to actually randomly group those students for us. So rather than work our way down that alphabetical list and in groups of 5, so to speak, or have to keep searching so I can put certain students together, what I can do is I can just click randomly group students. Teams will then ask me just exactly how many groups I want. So I'm just going to set that as groups of 5. And it'll then tell me that each group will have 5 to 6 students in there. I click create the group, and that is now the groups instantly built for me. So group 1, I can edit them, no problem. So we've got this little pen icon just to the right hand side of the group line. If I click on it, that will then open up, and this will show me who's in group 1. So I've got Alonso in here, I've got Fred, Rita, Toby, and sort of Adam's just asked a question. Will this work if I sign a class notebook page? Does it save to the notebook? Adam, that's an absolutely brilliant question. Please, can you hold that thought? And we're just going to talk about that in a few minutes, if that's okay. So hang on to that thought, because that is an excellent question. Just with this, with Alonso here, I can then remove Alonso from the group if I wish. Click update and done. And I can then go back in and recreate those groups. And let me just have a look. There's my 5 years, groups of students there. And I've still got one group, one student lurking in the background. I can hit there, add a student. Let's get Alonso back in, choose that, and that's put him in there. And that updates the group. Like at any time, again, I can recreate those groups. And by also clicking on the pen here, I can change the group names as well from group 1 to 5. I can change that to red, blue, green, orange, etc. Once I'm absolutely happy with all of my groups and all the students are all in the right place, all I need to do then is click done. That now tells me that I've got 5 groups. That's going to be divided up through my English group here. And then all I need to do then is go down to my due date. So we're going to give them a little bit more than 24 hours to actually do the work. So we're going to give them a week. And a due time, well, we're not going to have our students working until midnight. So I think what we'll do, we'll set that to 1700 hours just to give them a break on that. Now that we're happy with everything set up, so we've got our resources on here. We've got all our groups set, the date is set. So all I need to do then is click assign. And that's now gone through into my assigned area. This is it here. It takes a second for it to spin up, so to speak. So as you can see, we don't have any details here at the moment. So just while that's actually going to go through, we're just going to actually talk about Adam's question when it comes to things like the class notebook. So again, if I go to create, I'm going to click assignment. And if I was to put a title in here, and I can then put my instructions in as well. And let me just do that just to put something in. It's going to be some points. Initially, if I was to set it so that we have our groups of students, and I'm going to randomly group the students, and I'm just going to have 2 groups here. So I'm going to create the groups just very quickly, and that's done. Now I'm going to do that attachment. So I'm actually now going to take a look and see that if we try and put that class notebook in there, what will actually happen is that class notebook is grayed out. So unfortunately, when you can actually try and create a group attachment, a group assignment using the class notebook, it doesn't allow you to do it at the moment. However, I believe
I was just going to say, Keith, I guess the reason for that is if you do attach a class notebook page, that page gets distributed out into each individual person's notebook. So I'm guessing with groups, that's probably not going to be possible, which is why they've grayed it out.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Tony, for that. I'm just going to discard that one. Also, as well, if I was to create a quiz, so some teachers are really great fans of actually using the self-marking quizzes as part of their assignments. So if I was actually to set a quiz here and open that up and then go through into groups of students, it won't actually create a group assignment using Microsoft Forms. So the self-marking quizzes don't actually work within a group setting within assignments. I know Microsoft are working hard to remedy this, but currently this isn't available to us at the moment. And one other final thing to show you, just regarding the capabilities of the assignments, or group assignments, is that if I was to, let me just put a title in here, it's 1, 2, 3, and let me just go to English. Sometimes that when you wish to create an assignment, you may wish to push it across multiple classes. So in this case, I could actually create an assignment for 2 classes, my year 11 English group and my year 7 English group. However, if I was then to try and set up as a group assignment, it won't allow me to do it because it's going to be grouping 2 lots of students or 2 class worths of students, and it at the moment it just doesn't do that. So unfortunately, when you're actually creating a group assignment, it is only for 1 class only, not across multiple classes. So that's the only kind of drawback so far at the moment with group assignments, just around the class notebook, around the Microsoft Forms and self-marking quizzes, and across multiple classes. So it's just worth bearing that in mind. And I believe Microsoft probably will be working to fix most of that, should I say. Right, let's get back to our assignments. Let me just drop into general and let's go back into assignments again. And as we can see, this is our of my SMN group assignment. As we can see, 0 out of 5 has been handed in yet, so the students haven't touched it. But if I was to click on the assignment, this will then open it up and I can then see my groups. So this is group 1. And the way that we've got our setup with our academy, we've got a photograph of each of our students as well. It's giving me the status at the moment. It's not been handed in. Got my feedback, and I've also got my results as well, which are all set at 0 because I say we haven't graded it yet. So there's my groups. So it's all looking pretty good. I'm going to click back and I'm just going to go back to my assignment page. Right, so as a teacher, I'm now waiting for my students to actually do the work. So let's just drop into my student view. So we just dropped into Susan's class here. So we're in English year 11. And let's go into Susan's assignments and let's have a little look and see what we've got. So this is the of my SMN group assignment that we've just set, and let's go into it. So as a student, Susan gets to see obviously the title, the due date. She also gets to see the instructions that we set as well, because again, we don't like to keep anything a secret from our students. These are the reference materials that we attach. So we did have a PowerPoint presentation for the group to look at. But also it then gives her a list of the group. So if she clicks on it, it will then open up the list of students that are within her group. So it's now down to Susan to either arrange to meet her peers, either in the library, online, or however which way you've designated that as a student. So they're going to get together in their work group, and they're going to sit down and then start to put something together. So we do have a worksheet for them to work out on. So let's open it up. It's a Word document. So Because we're in Teams on the browser, it's just open up in the browser view at the moment that we could just work through the questions. So where's your favorite place in the world and why? Well, let's say Hull, and that's CDB comes from there. And what place do you feel safest and why? Let's just say at home. Great. Okay, we never really condone two-word answers as teachers, but for the interest of this afternoon, let's keep it short and sweet. The students can keep coming back and visiting this Word document as many times as they like until they're ready to hand it in. Also, as a group, they can attach documentation as well. So they may wish to upload something from the device. So they may have a photograph that they may wish to upload, so we can pop a picture on there as well if they wish. And also any supporting evidence that they've got for the group, they can add there. So again, they can add Word documents, Excel, PowerPoint. They've got the full Office 365 suite, but also if you notice, the class notebook page is grayed out. So unfortunately, they can't do that at this time. They can even add a short video as well. And they've also got the option of the whiteboard to attach that to that assignment. There's their points total there. It's worth 10 points. And when the group is ready, they can turn it in for the group. Now, any student within that group, within group 4 at the moment here, can actually hit the turn in button. So they need to get their heads together, agree that they've completed all the work that they need to do, and then turn in for the group. They get a little animation there just to signify that it's worked, and that is now ready for marking. However, if the group at any time decides that they want to call back the assignment, so they've forgotten to attach a photograph, for example, or they want to actually add a little bit more than 2 words into the worksheet, any person within the group can actually click the undo turn in for the group and actually recall it back. As long as I haven't marked it or haven't started marking it as a teacher, a student can call it back and do any amendments that they need. So I'm just going to click back on this. This takes us back to Susan's page here. And now that Susan and her group have handed the work in, it goes into the completed area here. And it's in here of mice and men group assignment is now at the bottom here. So it's just come back into this area here. I'm just going to go back into the assign page and leave it at that. Right, let's go back into the teacher view. So let me just go back into my general channel and I'll just drop back into assignments, just let the system catch up with itself just for a second. Right, so of mice and men, there's the group assignment here. And as we can now see, 1 out of 5, so 1 group out of the 5 groups has now handed that work in. So the status for group 1 still remains at not handed in, as it does for group 2 and group 3. But for group 4, the status has now changed to handed in. So this work is now ready for grading. We have an option available to us here. We can either mark the group as a whole. So as group 4 here, so let me just highlight it. There we go. So group 4 here, they've worked really well as a team. And I'm confident as a teacher that, yeah, I can actually mark the whole group, all 5 people, because they've all contributed, they've collaborated well together, and I can mark that as an entity, if you like, in its own right. However, if the group hasn't really pulled that well together as a team, or if I've had a member of the team potentially go on long-term sick, what I do have the option of doing is by clicking the 3 dots here, I can actually grade the students individually. So what this will then allow me to do is open up the assignment. Just click on Susan, for example. And what that allows me to do as part of the marking, I can actually then give each student an individual point score. And also I can give feedback to each individual student as well. So my options for marking aren't closed just due to the fact that it's actually a group assignment. I still get the option of being able to actually mark individuals if I wish. I'm just going to click close on that and just go back to the beginning again. What I will do is just click the dots again, and I can then grade students as a group. Yeah, and I can just go back. So if I actually change my mind at any time, I can then just close that down and mark the whole group as a group rather than individuals. Again, that's entirely personal preference. So all I need to do now as a group, I'm going to mark it. So I can click on any student, and what that will then do, that will then open up my marking page here. And this is my of mice and men. So we can see our answers here. So where's your favorite place in the world and why? That's where CDB comes from. And what place do you feel safe is at home? I'm just going to change the options here. So at the moment it's in editing, and I'm just going to click that into review mode. So what that does is that it will change the font color so that when I actually come to actually put any comments onto the work, when the student opens up that work, they'll actually then see that highlighted. In this case, it's going to be red. So on here, I'm just going to put something like please expand on there. And for the next question down, what place do you feel safest and why? I'm going to say good answer. Okay, so I've actually put the comment on there. I can also open up the picture as well to have a look, see any attachments that I've added onto there. However, I'm not going to do that at the moment. I'm just going to leave it purely as it is, just for the written work, and I can then enter the feedback for my group. So this is the formal feedback, and this is where it will then go through to the students' grade tab, and which we'll look at in a sec. So it's actually pull through into Teams for that. If you're using a rubric to grade, obviously you will then go through the rubric grading. You'll be able to grade the whole group using that rubric, and also put the feedback within the rubric as well if you're used to using those. However, because we're not using rubrics at the moment, we're just going to keep it to one lot of feedback for the group. I'm going to say well done for that, and we're going to appoint give some points for that group. We're going to give them 9 out of 10. And as you can see here, we've got our group. So we've got Susan, Vikram, Gloria here, Richard and Sharon. So they're the members of the group. So it just gives us a little bit of an aid to memoir as to who was actually submitting the work. At the bottom of the page here, I've got two options available to me. So I can either return the work and say, yeah, everything's absolutely fine, brilliant, well done, and they can move on. Or I do get this little drop down arrow here, and I do get the option of being able to return that work for revision. So if as a group they've not really done enough and I'm expecting a little bit more from them, what I can do is just click that return for revision, and that will then send that back to the students. It will go back into their assigned area in their assignments page, and it'll be highlighted in red that this assignment has actually been sent back for revision. So then they've got to get their heads together and do a little bit more work, so to speak. So I'm absolutely happy with this. So I'm just going to click return, and that then returns it back to my students. Oh, okay, it's working on it. And what I can then do is I can then close this page, and that then takes it back. And as we can see, group 4 has now come off the list here, and I can then go into my returned area here. And as you can see, that's my group 4's work. It's been marked. I can click on the feedback, so it just tells me exactly what I've written, and I can add to it in here if I wish. So I can come back and add a little bit further, and also there's the points as well, which I can change if I wish. Let's just go back to the returned box here. So while I'm in the in assignments, I've got group 1. So they've not submitted the work yet, and the closing date is looming. What I can do is I can then just click on group 1. I can go in there, and as a teacher, I do have some additional functionality in here. So I can take action in the group view as a teacher, so I can drop in, and if the group's forgotten to hand the work in, what I can do as a teacher, I can turn this in for the group. So if I was to just click on that. So instead of a student actually handing the work in, as a teacher, I've just gone on in there, overridden the system and basically handed that work in on their behalf. So I can then just go back, click close. And as we can now see, the status for that for group 1 is now classed as handed in, because I've just done that on their behalf. So it's just a handy little thing that we have within assignments. And not only does that work within group works, it also, you can do that individually for students as well. So now that we've actually now done all our marking and we've turned that in for the group and it's all been sent back to the beginning end for them, what we can do then is then go to our grades tab. So let's go over to the left hand side of the page. So with our grades, this is our of my sum n group assignment here. And despite the fact that we've actually we've actually graded the work as a group and we've distributed that assignment back out to them as a group, said, yeah, well done, and pass that back to the students. What we do actually get is that each individual within their grades tab does get their grading pulled out as an individual item, so to speak. So Susan here was part of group 4, so she got the 9 points that we awarded them. The handed in ones here, these are the ones that we've just manually handed in, that we just did that as teachers. And as we can see, as we work down the screen here, we've got Sharon, Gloria, I believe, Richard and Kofi. This is their grading as well. So despite the fact that they've actually done a piece of work as a group, when it actually comes to their grades, that is then distributed out individually, so you can still keep track of that as teachers. Also, don't forget, within the grades tab, we can export that to Excel. So if we wish to do any reporting to our department heads, for example, we can actually export all our grades out to Excel and then submit them to department heads, or potentially we could use those on parents, even if you want to show where our students are sitting within a group. And also, if I was to click on a student as well, in this case, Susan, I can individually go into each student here and look at their grades individually. And again, it will then show me, it'll give the due date. I can actually change all that up. And then we can actually sift and sort through all of their grades here as well. And again, we can export that out to Excel. To go back, I can then just click back to assignments, or go back to my general channel. Either works, and that will then just take me back to the beginning again. If we can have a quick look through the questions, I'm a quick to go. Any assignment, multiple groups in addition. Yeah, it sounds great out. Brilliant. Okay. So essentially, that is what we've done, covered with our group assignments this afternoon. So don't forget, when we create it, when we go into our assignment, the key thing here is that once we've actually got our put a title in, because that's all it needs for it to work. Put a title in. It's the key one is then when we come over to all students, hit the head and shoulders icon, then we select groups of students here, and then we can either manually group those students, or we can then get Microsoft Teams to group those students on our behalf. Let me just bring this one up here and we'll just bring that across. Do we have any further questions for this afternoon's presentation? Any thoughts, any ideas that potentially we've got for people on the call?
If anyone wants to share with us, you know, how you might use this in the classroom, that might be really useful for other people to know. So feel free to post in the chat window. There's a Q&A box in the top right. You can press that and send us a message. We did have a question a bit earlier on about posting in the general channel, because I know if you set an assignment, Keith, you can choose a channel that it goes into, but when it's a group assignment, that option seems to be grayed out and you can only put it into the general channel.
Oh, great. Okay.
Not sure why that is. I'm guessing that might be something that's worth us asking Microsoft just to find out why that's the case. Again, these are quite new features, so I'm sure they will get better as time goes on. Are there any features people think that are lacking that they'd really like? And any comments, any questions, feel free to post them in the question and answer section. We have had a question just come in. Could we assign a captain per team to assign one person to hand in? So Keith, you showed us that any students in that team, in that group, can hand in. Is there the option to lock that down to maybe somebody in the group?
At the moment, no. So there's no option to actually assign a group leader, so to speak, or a team leader. It is purely down to the group themselves to either nominate a person to hand in that work, or they just get together and then decide, yeah, we've done enough and handed that work in. However, some students are a little bit keen, so to speak, and could be a little bit rushed and say, right, I've done it, and submit it as part of the group. Don't forget though, the group does have the option of being able to recall that work back. So even if someone actually did it by mistake and it was like, oh, crikey's done that wrong, not a problem. The student still goes into that assignment, and any student within that group can actually recall that assignment on behalf of the group, so they can add further content to the assignment if they wish.
And if it is a group assignment and they're submitting, for example, a Word document, I'm guessing all the students in that group could open that Word document and edit it at the same time. They could all co-author it.
Absolutely.
So they could all be working on it at the same time. Somebody has to take control and publish it. Yeah, Adam mentioned, yeah, a more sensible member of the team might be responsible for handing it in. I guess you could set the assignment to the individual and not use group assignments and just put them into groups in the classroom and get them to do it that way. But yeah, I guess the idea of group assignments is everybody is in that group, everybody gets the same level of responsibility.
Absolutely. I mean, so you may actually wish, when you put actually groups of students together, so you may actually choose the ones that may be kind of one member may be really good kind of academically, who, if it's an assignment where there's a little bit of writing to do. One student may be really quite artistic, so we might get that student to actually create a picture and take a photograph and add that on. We may have another student who's really good at actually being able to create PowerPoint presentations or do spreadsheets, etc. So you can play to those talents within those groups. So when you're actually building a group, rather than actually be a system generated group, you as a teacher may actually want to manually place those students together in the group to actually bring forward those talents, and then expect from that group, a piece of written work, maybe a PowerPoint, a photograph, etc. So a piece of artwork, however you deem fit for that assignment to work, so to speak. But yeah, so that's the idea. And then once all those students have brought that body of work together, at that point, then they can agree and then submit that work as a group.
So I guess you could have the gifted and talented students together so they could do those extension activities that you want them to do, or maybe you spread everybody out evenly to make it fairer. So lots of different options there when you're picking your groups.
Oh yeah. And as I was saying earlier on, we've got that option there to be able to, the ones that tend to sit there quietly in a corner, they do their work quietly. They're great students. However, you may want to put them into a group of slightly more extrovert students, or actually people who don't mix that well. So let's get them together and working. They can create new friendships within the classroom.
So the hardest bit of all this, Keith, is picking the groups.
Yes, I would definitely say so. From my recollection of being at school, that would be an absolute nightmare for the teacher, and I think the teacher probably would have been hitting that random button to group us. But yeah, it's obviously as teachers, your students, and you know how best that would actually potentially work within your own environment.
Right. Keith, are you able to show the contact details on the screen?
Absolutely, I can do. So
sorry, I was just going to say, feel free to post any questions and we'll keep this open for a few more minutes while Keith just introduces our contact details.
Great, thank you, Tony. So to contact us, we've got tons and tons of free resources. So please use the QR codes at the bottom. So we've got all our Twitter feeds, we've got newsletters and our Facebook. So we're on the social medias. Also, if you use the QR codes to go into YouTube, there is a whole host of free material in there for you to use. Demonstrations on Teams, SharePoint, assignments, class notebook. It's all there, case studies, it's all there on YouTube for you to view. To contact us, please, contact us through info@clouddesignbox.co.uk. You can also telephone us as well, and also our website details are on there via clouddesignbox.co.uk. So please feel free, as Tony said, to answer any more questions, ask any questions you choose around group assignments. I say we're going to be on for a few more minutes yet. If you choose to leave the event now, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. It's been an absolute pleasure having you along. I do hope you find that useful. And if you have found it useful, please, pop it in the comments box for us, because we do enjoy the feedback, and we can always improve as we're going along. So again, thank you for your time this afternoon, and have a very pleasurable afternoon. Thank you.